So presents Free Friday webinar. This is Roscoe the Pug, my sidekick, who's going to be leaving soon because he is not into writing. But today we're going to talk about teaching writing with digital tools. And of course, you can always get the free slides. You can get the slides to download for free in a PDF form. You can get all the links. You don't have to join anything to get the links. And then, of course, you can get the recordings of this webinar. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the links for that. You can find it at shellyterrell.com/webinars. And then for this particular one, you can find all the links if you go to shellyterrell.com writing. But thanks to American TESOL, we're here every Friday, so you can invite a friend. And we also have the esltech.com site. That's where you can complete assignments and you can get a certification in teaching with technology from American TESOL. If you're an American TESOL member, then that is a free added bonus. But if you're not, it's pretty reasonably priced. And if not, then you can just be here and attend, and we will gladly love that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you those links, and that's where you'll find the slide shares and the recordings and all that good stuff. Okay. So it's shellyterrell.com/webinars, and there. And you can find the assignments at esltech.com. One of my favorite quotes when I was doing this, and if you actually look at the post, was I had a choice between a couple of writing quotes. And the two that really struck me were one by Joss Whedon, which isn't here, which is, I write to give myself strength. I write to be the character that I am not. I write to explore all the things that I am afraid of. And I really like that quote because it talks about how personal writing is. And the reason why writing is so difficult for a lot of our students is because our students have to share themselves. And in today's arena, it's already scary enough to share your thoughts, your ideas, your thought process, the way you organize those thoughts, what you read, because when you support your idea and you reference other people, then you're sharing who you read, who you browsed through. So even in a short piece of writing, you're showing yourself. Even in technical writing, you're showing your skill set, you're showing your vocabulary. So there's so much of you in writing. And when you do this with peers, with an adult, and then also if you're there with, of course, 20 other students, 30 students, however many in the class, that's scary enough. But when you publish it online, when you use digital tools, then you have the potential of getting your ideas and thoughts shared with thousands. So that can be a very scary process. So how do we make that easier with digital tools? I think that's something really important. So it's not just enough to give you digital tools that I think are really great. And that I will do, of course, in this presentation, but I also want to give you some tips and provide you with advice how to get your students to safely publish online, safely or respectfully give each other feedback, and to make them some really great digital researchers. Now you can find a lot of different of my, if you go to SlideShare, you can actually find previous slides that I've done as well. And that'll talk about things like digital research, about different kinds of things, offering feedback, and it'll give you more specific. So thank you, Peggy. Peggy said it was an awesome blog post, so thank you. So what I want you to do first is think about your own type of writing. Do you use Facebook? Do you use Instagram? Do you use text? I mean, if you've used all of these are different ways. These are different ways that we write and we read today. And this is what our students do, but it's also what we do. So how many of you can type in the text box if you want, send a text message today. Did you send a text message today? Did you send a WhatsApp? Did you send a Facebook message, a tweet, an Instagram? How did you communicate today? And Sean says, in the chat box. Yes to all. He did it all. Me too, actually. So this happens quite a bit. And so many of us think that this is not reading and writing, but in fact, because we do this every day and because our students, I get a lot of times where teachers say, my students, they are always on their phones, they're glued to them. Well, that means that they're digitally literate. I mean, not digitally literate, but it means that they're practicing reading and writing. So yeah, they may speak in text speech, they may speak in memes, but that doesn't mean that this is lower level learning. It actually takes a lot to do this. If you try to translate emojis, and I've done this with teachers, lots of teachers around the world, and I've been to next week I will be in Australia, so you may see me from there. And so when and everywhere I go, I do this exercise where I get teachers to translate emoji messages, and they won't do it because it's too hard. And so it does take an intelligence to translate text speech, to also make things more succinct, to take a very large message like this quote here by David Crystal. And David Crystal is one of the most famous linguists. He's, I think, over 80, but he's so smart and incredible. And in 2007, he started saying, hey, texting, writing these blog posts, or digital language, the way we read and write online or with our digital tools, is not stupid, or it's not meaning our students are stupid. In fact, he says they're writing more than Jane Austen could have. They're reading and they're writing more than they ever did before because of the digital devices. And so it's important that we begin to see how the writing has changed, how the communication has changed. And you notice something here. Notice the way that we write. We write in very short chunks. Who said that we learn well with good chunking? Well, we learn very well with good... Oops. Sorry. We had a mishap here in the house, but we learn a lot here by what Vygotsky used to say was one of the best ways that we learn. And the way that we learn is through chunking language. So that's what we're doing these days. We also read in streams. So a lot of the social networks, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, if you look at them, you scan a lot, you read in streams, so you're getting all that information. The information is going in your brain. And when you click on a link and you go to review it or to evaluate it, you're still ingesting that information. So what becomes important? What becomes important is who we follow. Because the images and the sayings and the infographics and the sketch notes, all of that is brain friendly. And our brain absorbs that. So imagine when you do all of that, then that's all part of your mind. And so our students don't realize that. So I tell my students right away, it's important who you follow. And to kind of make that come to light for them, I say change who you follow for a day. Set up a new account, set up a new Twitter or Facebook, whatever you use. Follow really smart people or people you're interested in. If you want to do skateboarding, follow the best in skateboarding. If you want to do science, follow them, and see how that changes the way you feel, the way you think, your ideas, your creativity. And something that simple can really just change a lot in your life. But not only does the writing is so important in that we use digital tools and we show students how to be responsible, make them think about these deeper issues. The reason why is because it is changing our language. And every time our students post, when they change the language, their language has action. It brings people to do things. And an example is, for example, a flash mob. Somebody shares a hashtag, somebody shares, hey, we're going to be at this mall or this location. And then thousands of people or a large group of people join, and then the rest are impacted. So this is the power that writing digitally has. So it's important that when they're crafting those messages, they're also changing language. For example, if you look at these examples here, even the Pope is taking a selfie. Even the Pope takes a selfie. And so selfie was even put in our dictionary. And there were some in the Oxford Dictionary where they had put amazeball, selfie, YOLO. All of this are in the dictionary. But some of the things that were taken out were things like natural words, acorn, buttercup. These kind of words um, are something that we see. So the language is taking place. So we don't teach our students how to write on with digital tools and how to craft those messages. Then we are impacting society. We're impacting our own literacy, the things that we do, our traditions, our values, our self norms. So this is kind of a big task, how do we teach correctly or how to write with digital tools? And that's not an easy question. So I have created this book, Learning to Go, and you can find lots of digital lessons there. It's a touch one. It's very inexpensive. It's $5.99, but it has, for example, different types of lesson plans, rubrics, handouts. All of that is. It also has apps for everything, free web tools and sites for everything, and then you can edit them as well. So what are the types of digital writing your students can do? Well, it depends. We talked about research, and so definitely research is part of that. And so you can access the previous webinars and recordings for that. But these are the types that I've broken it into that I think that that I find that I have done with some of my students. I find there might be other ones as well, of course. There's always more. But these are the ones that I want to kind of introduce you to, which is an e-zine. An e-zine is an online digital magazine. Posters, so multimedia posters, multimedia, and that can include slide presentations, that can include slide shows. Sometimes you see a slideshow with music, so that's all part. You have little digital writing. Quotes are also part of that, but I didn't put that in here because that's smaller type of writing. You can have a digital scrapbook that can be really meaningful. I've seen a lot of fantastic ones where they've taken people in history and then they've made this digital scrapbook, and it's amazing. They because you can make the pictures look old with sepia or black and white. So there's a lot of things that you can do. You can have an e-portfolio, a digital portfolio, and that takes a lot of examples of your writing work. So you can have longer essays, you can have argument essays, you can have persuasive, all of this. You can create comics, you can your students can write a blog, your students can have a video with commentary, sometimes silent films. Silent films, you can have the action, and then the next slide is what they are saying, but you also do the storyboard, so that includes writing. Audio, when you do a broadcast, you script. If you're producing the news, if you're doing the podcast, then you have to script it. You have to make it short. You have to make sure that it reaches the audience. So an ebook, a newspaper, an infographic, all of these are different types of ways, projects that you can start next year, or even if you have time now with your students. So think of one. In the chat box, you can write which one of these types of writings you think that you might want to try with your students. And the great thing is that students of all ages respond to those types of writings. I've taught from 2 years old all the way to over 80. So this means that, there's a lot of great ways that students love to write. I've introduced them to all of these things. And sometimes they look at me a little crazy if they're older, but they do it and then they have fun and they love it. So your students will enjoy and they will produce some quality writing. So I'm going to introduce you some very good tools that I think are really good for language learners in particular. And these tools, of course, you can find them if you go to the blog. And it's shelleyterrell.com writing. This blog has so many different types of, well, you can find the slides there, but you can also find in the blog a lot of these things. So one of the things that you can do is subtext. Subtext it does have this, unfortunately, if you go to subtext.com, it's not going to really take you to much. But if you have to go to subtext support. But when you go to subtext support, this tool is so amazing. So it doesn't give you, I put a snapshot of the free iPad app because it gives you a little bit more. It allows you whatever you're writing or whatever you're reading. So it's good for peer feedback. You can upload different student work and then they can highlight. They can add a discussion forum. They can argue. They can, I mean, they can do anything with any type of writing. They even have articles and stuff. So if you're looking for a quick lesson, you say, oh, I want my students to, I don't have a particular type of article or something for my students, but I want to get a discussion. Well, Subtext is free, and it's one of the easiest ways to do that. If you have the iPad, and I saw Miriam did, download it, check it out. It's incredible for reading and writing. Rewordify.com, because a lot of times what happens is that your students, they don't understand what they're reading. So we usually base some type of writing on a reading. And if they cannot understand it, then we need them to be able to, or make a connection. And if it has all these words that are meaningless to our students, if they have these archaic words, then our students can't get that emotional attachment, or they can't get an attachment. So Rewordify helps it to where it comes into words that they understand. Instead of saying something like, I am enraptured by enthralling personages, which doesn't even connect with us probably. Rewordify, you just copy, paste in Rewordify, and it changes it to, I'm very interested in fascinating people. Although I think you're irritated by their overly wordy, snobby lecture. So notice how that is more to our understanding, and we can grasp that, and we can build, we can identify that we get interested in fascinating people, right? So Rewordify is a very good one as well. And then, of course, there are different writing programs you can get into to kind of encourage long-term writing. A large national NaNoWriMo will also even give you free laptops or tablets, so your student for the class during the month of November. So when November comes around, you can start thinking about it now, so you can get prepared to have that. Yes, Peggy, and oh, what I didn't say, so Peggy asked a great question. Do you find that Rewordify is accurate? For the most part, it is. It's very, very good. Even better than some of the Google Translate when we translate other languages, which isn't very accurate. But the great thing about once you do Rewordify, it'll highlight some of those vocabulary words, and then you can do lessons with it. It has over 200 activities, I think it says, you can do with them. You can create crossword puzzles with those vocabulary, so it helps them build vocabulary too, even for their writing. It's one of the best tools for English language learners. Check your grammar. So we're always harping, especially with English language learners, when you teach English or when you teach writing in general. So what are good tools to help students check their grammar? Well, students, even us, are lazy. But that's okay. Or you're so invested, not necessarily lazy, but you're so invested in your writing that it's really a hassle to stop and say, hey, I want to check my grammar, because that's not what I want to do. For my books, I hire other people to check the grammar. Even in my blog posts, one of my really good friends, and he still does this, is he checks my tweets sometimes too, even though Siri gets to them and uncorrects them. But my friend Jake, he's very good at checking my grammar. He always checks my grammar and all my blogs and lets me know that I messed something up, because I do. So when you do the thing with grammar, Grammarly.com is really fantastic. They're great to follow on Facebook. And then the Hemingway App.com. So Grammarly can even be an extension on your browser. There's a free version of it. And of course, try that. But you can even, if you do the Grammarly, then it'll even check it on your email. So if you get the premium version, they let you have a free trial. I think my free trial ended already, but it's really good. It checks your papers like this. It gives you ideas. The Hemingway app is really good as well. So Hemingway, you can put it for the desktop. And it's not an app. I don't know why it says app in the sense. It is an app, but it's not a mobile app. You have to use this on your computer. So you would download it, and then it gives your students, it highlights certain sections and it gives them ideas. So it improves their writing while while they're writing. So the Hemingway app is a really good way to have that. Thank you so much, Peggy, for sharing that. And then you can have your students learn about grammar in different ways. I'm going to show you some other ones. There's a comic of grammar. I did a long time ago a slide presentation on ways to teach grammar, and so there are new ways that have come out. And so one of the ones I recently found out about this week, other than the Hemingway app, is also this Little Shop of Writers. It has 6-minute videos, and on each of these videos you can find, for example, the different ways to write and structures and things like that. So it's really good. The other one that's actually very good is this Purl Tree. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll have to ask Peggy to forgive me because I didn't put the Purl Tree in this one since I was putting the bookmarks. But if you go to my Purl Tree, you can actually find the different grammar tools and stuff like that um, that I recommend as well, that came with that particular slideshare. Now, if you go to this Purl Tree that has everything for inspired writing, just click on the one that says grammar, and that's going to get you to the grammar ones as well. So I'm going to share with you those grammar tips because writing encompasses so much. And so I'm only going to go through a few things because we'll be running out of time, and we like to keep this to about 30 minutes, okay? Google Apps and Tools. So that's one of my other recommendations for you. So I had, of course, Subtext, the Hemingway app, Rewardify. So these are some of the good tools that I recommend Grammarly. But the next ones are Google. No Google. If you have this summer, one of the most important things you can do is learn the Google apps and tools. They're free. You can download them on your computer and your mobile device. They're on pretty much any device. You can get them, and they will make your life as a teacher easier. They just make life easier, and so I definitely recommend that teachers get know Google. And so you can, I share a lot of Google resources, but of course, there's different places. If you use the hashtag GAF, you'll find a lot of things there as well. So I'm going to share with you the Google ones. Oh, thank you, Peggy, for sharing the slides. And on each of these bookmarks, you will find slides. So I'm going to share with you just quick ones of the writing potential. So you have Google Drive, which has Google Docs. Okay, so it also has Google Sheets. This is what it looks like on a computer. It is not what it looks like on your mobile device. If you have it on a mobile device, then you have to download Drive. You have to download Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, all of that separately. To access the apps, you have to be on your browser. So what does all this mean? So let's just focus on the computer. Okay, this is being on the computer. It is not being on your mobile device, which my mobile device is over there. Sorry. So you have to be on this particular one. It's for your mobile. So I'm going to show you on your browser. Sorry, desktop. So this is all on the desktop, just letting you know. So you have add-ons, okay? So once you do Google Drive, you can do add-ons. The add-ons are going to be when you click on New, click on More, and then you will see Connect More Apps. When you connect more apps, you have tons of things to help your students writing. You teach math, they can write equations. If for writing, you can use something like Lucidchart, or you can use Writer, or there's so many different apps, and they improve your students' writing. So it checks their grammar and everything, and most of these are actually free. They just come. An add-on is what it does is it makes it more powerful. It makes Google more powerful. So Google came up, of course, with the where you can write papers and spreadsheets and all of that. But they also realized that if we have other companies share their stuff, then we can make a really great place for everybody to be able to come write, do great digital writing. So one of the things, you can also have add-ons when you go to Google Docs. So when you go to Google Docs, next to the tab table is the tab add-ons. And when you go to add-ons, you can search for writing. That's what I did here. and you'll see things like EasyBib or bibliography to cite resources in APA, Chicago, or MLA style. You have a pro writing aid to improve your writing. You even have where you can add information on PDFs. So if you have a bunch of worksheets and they're all on PDFs, then you can go and you can even send those to your students and they can write on them. So that's cool digitally. Well, not and then one of the best things I can show you is under Google Docs. If you look under tools, go to research. And when you click on research, it's going to show you where you can search. It's going to pop up with this side box, and then you're able to search for scholarly resources. So you want to make sure that you can play with the research tool, because you'll see it'll even show you quotes. It'll give you a dictionary. It'll also give you the APA, MLA reference for whatever scholarly research you had. And it even allows you pictures, Creative Commons pictures. The other great tool is Google Templates. I use these a lot. These are, so you don't have to rewrite your lesson. You don't have to go from a scratch. Let's say you want to do storyboarding or anything. Use a template. Some other teacher has done it for you. They have grading templates. I use this for myself. I use a budgeting template, and when I download it, I just change it. I do one for my invoices. I love it. Yeah, it's one of the great, modify it, make it your own, make it available for everybody else, and people will love you for it. So you can have your students work with templates as well. So what we want to do is, we don't want our students to start from scratch. We don't want them to start and have to figure out the structure and the process and do their sharing. That's too much. It's overwhelming. They're starting from ground zero, a lot of them, because a lot of times that's what teachers do. They walk into the classroom, our students walk in the classroom, and teachers say, write, and then they grade them. And that's not the best approach to teaching writing. The best approach is, you have to make them feel safe and comfortable so they can get their ideas out there. And once they get their ideas out there, then they can learn how to structure it, how to support those ideas. And so it's really great to have that. So you also have Google Chrome browser. So that's a browser like Firefox, like Safari, like Internet. And that has some pretty cool things too. And you can find it probably in your browser as well. So one of them is an extension. It has what's called an extension and a bookmarklet. Bookmarklet goes here, and extension goes on top. I won't explain that to you. We explained it in the last webinar a little bit. But when you go to it, the extensions are free. Now, this is from just your browser. So we're not talking about Google Docs or anything you download. It's if you have Chrome, okay? I've created, okay, so Peggy asked, can you say if anything you create with Google? Yes, as templates. Oh, I'm not sure of that. I think you can. Actually, you can if you go under file, but I have never done that, so I wouldn't be the best person to ask that. Sorry, you would think that I would do this. It's another thing of Google I have to try. But the extensions, you can go, the person that asked for that actually is Alice Keeler. She knows everything about Google Drive and Docs and spreadsheets. And she's probably going to tell you to use a spreadsheet. So these are free. They can come on your browser, and they make life easier. They make them much faster. So there's a couple of extensions that I like for students. So if you don't want to get, one of them is the read and write. Okay, so this is specifically for English language learners. So when you go to read and write, what it's going to do is it's going to give you a way to be able to have your students look up whatever is in Google Docs. They can get suggestions for better, but it is made for students with learning needs and also for English language learners. So this is one of the ones that I really, really recommend for language learners, or those with low literacy, or who struggle with writing the most. This could really help your students so much. So let me go ahead and give you the address for this particular one, because don't know if I listed it on the website. I'll have to go back. And then draft back. What does draft back do? Draft back is really fantastic. One of the things for draft back does is while your students, okay, so don't do this right away, but don't tell them what it does. What it does is while they're writing, at the end, it plays a video of every step of that writing. So every time they change things, so it gives them an idea of how they write. What are the things that they do? It even gives them statistics. It shows them this is how many times you did this, you edited, these are how many words, this is, and so after a while, it'll keep doing that with all, it makes a little video. So you know how our students love videos? So they get to see their revision history in a video. The other one that I really like a lot is Quick Create. And the reason I like that one is because with Quick Create, you're able to quickly create a Google Doc. So your students, if they have laptops and stuff, they're going to love you for all of these suggestions because it's going to make them better writers, and they're cool. It gets them to interact and kind of develop a relationship with their writing. They get to know their writing and who they are as a writer, which is so cool. So we had Miriam say that she uses writing templates with her students too. And so a lot of times even with primary, so we can use a lot of graphic organizers. And even for adult students, I taught teenagers how to write. There are great graphic organizers out there, or writing charts, or and there's so many. There's literally hundreds of them. There's a fishtail chart, there's a comparison contrast, there's a Venn diagram, there's a K. I mean, there's so many ways to write. There's the Tolman method. There's so many different ways to structure your writing, and all of them are good to try. Actually, it's good to try different ones to get your students to see which one matches them. And so I think here, this one, the read write, and I put a short URL for it. You have to use it is case sensitive. But this one is really good. It's an interactive, so it's like an online graphic organizer. It organizes their, and you can do it for mystery, a story, if they're writing an autobiography essay, or if they're, you can create their own. The great thing about it is they go through this on the computer. It's free, Read Write Web. But the other thing that does really well is it also does mystery cube planning sheet. So in the bottom of each of these is a PDF you can download. So let's say that, for example, the computers go out, you have no internet. Well, if you downloaded the planning sheet, then you have something that you can put up in the document camera, and it's still going to be your lesson. So that's why I really like Read, Write, Think, because they have that backup already there in case you have a tech problem. My favorite graphic organizer site is, and I'm adding the one that Peggy put out, helper.com, for graphic organizers too. So thank you, Peggy. Is creately.com. The reason I like it is because it has all these cool writing charts. I think they're some of the best ones. It teaches me how to structure my writing too. So by browsing through creately.com and just looking at the organizers, and that's one thing you should do, is just take a look and then try a different one with your class each time. Too many times we get stuck on one, but if we do a lot, then we help our students brainstorm in different ways. This is really a map for the brain. So when you're doing each different one, you're training your brain to think differently on different matters, to structure things differently, and that makes your students much smarter. Teachnology.com. So sometimes we think we can't do it for young learners, but here's one that's really great for young learners. So sometimes what I do, this is a little cheat. If you don't have a lot of money and stuff, I'll look at this, and what I do is I'll get my students to actually draw this themselves. So sometimes for here, I don't need this Santa Claus because we're not writing a Santa Claus story, but they can write anything. I can tell them, put your favorite stuffed animal there, put your favorite toy up there, and then they just fill out the bubbles. Okay, make 1 bubble, 2 bubble, 3 bubbles, 4. So easy to teach with graphic organizers. You can draw them on a board. You can use them on a document camera. I mean, it's so great to know the structures of different document of graphic organizers because you never run out of a lesson or idea. You can always spark discussion in writing every time you go into the class if you know the different types, and I know the different types because I study them. But of course, you can also print them down. They have some free versions with teachnology.com. But if it doesn't match like I do here, the snowman wasn't going to match, then I make my own version. And that way my students can do that. It's easy for them to do this on a laptop too. So if you teach with iPads, you can do something like Edu Creations. You can do something like Collaborate board or Share board, and you can have them draw any whiteboard or drawing tool, paper 53, and then have them write. It's easy for them to draw a circle, a line, a circle, and to fill out these questions, and then they can send it to you. So these are things that they can do. They can even do it Popplet, Popplet.com or Popplet. The iPad app lets them draw, so you can do it on Popplet as well. So there's a lot of different types of writings. You can do a school newspaper with esu.com. That's another tool to do a great newspaper. I recommend Kid Blog for, or even making recipes with isu. Kid Blog is one of the best places to have a blog be for students because no emails required. They just log in. So you can see here, you create the login. And these are easy. I uploaded the spreadsheet with them, and it actually took not that long to do that. It took me 5 minutes, and I just keep using that spreadsheet again with other class blogs. So it's a great way to set up. Your students need feedback, so you can tag, if you on Twitter, you can use the comments for kids hashtag, and or you can go to comments for kids, the block spot, and then you'll be able to do that. Digital storytelling, you can also have those as well. I know, why does it keep doing that, Peggy? I don't know either. So copy and paste whatever it is that has the links inside the chat box. If you want to get to know them, then use them. Then just copy and paste the whole thing into your browser because it's giving spaces. So when you do digital storytelling, it's a different type of writing than factual writing or argument or persuasive or comparison contrast or different types of essays. But it's really great. Your students will enjoy it of all ages because we love to share stories of ourselves. And so here we have materials, characters, plot, story title, theme, setting, type. These are all things they have to brainstorm. And so I created a storyboard, and I believe my storyboard is on there. It might be bit.ly, bit.ly. I know there is one. I think it's JET, maybe. Or I think it might be Clay Storyboard. So let me try that, and I'll give you that template. It's free, but you can also find that in my book, Learning to Go, of course. But yeah, I have and then just make a copy of it. And when you make a copy of it, then you can go and you can use it any way you want. So this kind of a template that I've used as well. There are digital writing prompts to get them to brainstorm, because you want at first, when you start getting students to write, the first thing you want to do is get them to write and don't grade it. That's one of the best ways to get students comfortable and feel safe with writing. So digital writing prompts every day. If you want them to keep a journal, I do. They keep a journal every day, and they do the first 5 minutes. They walk in the classroom, they sit down, they write in their journal. They have laptops, they type it in their blog. So they do one or the other. It's good for classroom management. It gets them to calm down. It gets them to start getting their mindset for my classroom and shake away what just happened in the hallway, if they broke up with a girlfriend or anything like that. So that's kind of a good way to get them to settle down. It's a routine. They do this all the time. You can show this on top, but there's lots of digital writing prompts. You can show this on a projector screen, and your students can write down. One of these is with Make Believe Comics. Make Believe Comics has over 350 of these for different, for science, for math, for history, so if you're teaching CLIL, content, language, integrated learning, geography, all of that, they pretty much have a comic. So this is inviting for students. Students see this, they want to write, and it structures the writing too. Notice how it's almost like a comic graphic organizer. Here they have to come up with the dialogue. So I think it's really important that they do different types of writing. Yes, little things that interfere with their learning, Peggy. I think, Sean. Emojinate. So take this example. Okay, so I see a lot of sites and stuff, and no, they're not the best for education for kids and stuff because they don't filter, but that's the web. So this is good for a lot of different older learners, but also little young learners can do this as well. So Emojinate, it randomizes um, five emojis. So what you can do is you can get the site, get the emoji it comes up with, and then you post on the board, and your students have to create a storyline based on those five emojinates. So you try it out. You can go and you can try it. It's a lot of fun, and you see a lot of great stories. Here's one. They post them online, but you don't have to have them post online. And students will love this because they love doing. You can even have them texted to each other if they have like a free texting app or something. Or if they're doing, for example, WhatsApp, and you have a group. If you have a group WhatsApp, then this is a great way. You put these emojis, and then you have them. You can even take a snapshot of it, post it on the WhatsApp, and say, everybody on your WhatsApp come up with the storyline. You can even do a poll, vote on the best or something. Or it can be like a chain story. So there's different ways that you can use Emojinate.com. Now, they can post it on Emojinate, but the problem is that there are some stories that aren't as good as this. So this one, someone did the space edition of Noah's Ark. They put in 2,500. Earth is too commercial for Noah, so he decides to bring along his best friend, the cow, after deciding to move to the moon. Too bad the mouse and cat beat him there first. See, that's a very good story by a student, right? Yeah. Writeabout.com has different visual prompts. It's also a platform for students to blog, and they can write with other students, so they immediately get that feedback with other classes. Cogdogart.com. And I know I'm going kind of fast, but I would do this. You can find this all in the bookmarks. And so you have Corn Dog Art. She has video writing prompts. So they watch a little video, a cartoon or something, or they can watch a silent film, and then they do a writing with that. And so she's really good for giving those, and she gives visual ones. And then there's some that meet with the Common Core standards. There's Luke Neff. So if you go to photoprompts.tumblr.com, or the other one you can find actually a lot of John Spencer's on the writeabout.com now. He does them now, but you'll find a lot there. So we're going to run through this because we have to finish already. But peer editing is really good. You can use Subtext for that. You can use Google for that. When you do peer editing, it's important to teach them how to be good at that. So a lot of times I'll get them to get a rubric that I've created, and then they grade each other's work anonymously. But you can also have different things where you ask the students. Then after they see, so a lot of people say, isn't it important they come up with their own criteria? Yes, after they have given feedback based on yours. Why? Because if they don't know the process, and if they don't know then they have nothing to judge from or evaluate. So then you can go back, and then you can say, hey, what would be great for us to add to the rubric? What is something I missed, or what was something that was confusing, or what words? And then you can go and build from there. But it's first to have your own and take them through the process, because a lot of times our students aren't used to that. They don't know how to do this sometimes. So it's good to build classroom and culture and community, have a lot of digital icebreakers and get to know each other, because it's harder for them to pick on each other if they don't know, if they know each other. It's good to reassess your assessment. Make sure you're not making a lot of red marks and stuff. Start with small feedback. What I usually do is I give one goal at the beginning. So the first couple of weeks when they're writing, or the first week, there's of course the rubric. Rubrics are easy because you just give the mark, but you don't write all over the paper. So at first I don't grade. There's a free flow writing first week where they get to flow, make their ideas, get comfortable with the fact of just writing, and putting their thoughts on paper. Then we go back, we learn about the editing, we learn about putting things in charts and things like that. And then there's and then I give them a goal. So each week they get a goal. I noticed, Ricardo, that you're not very good. I noticed, Ricardo, that you're very good at this. You're very good at giving some great story plots. But let's see if you this next week you can work on character development. Let us know more about your superhero Pablo or something. Okay, so I think this is important. So you tell them something that's really good and then show them a goal to strive for. Are they going to have mistakes? And so they have different types of goals. The next goal is that you also try having your students. So I give a grammar goal, I give a vocabulary goal, and I also give some structure goal, and then I also give a goal to improve, for example, just something in the paper like characterization or something, or support, or things like that. That's hard to do. I know it's really hard to do. So that's why I say take it in the process. You want to give a couple of goals, uh, 3 or 4 goals, and that's it. You don't want them to tackle all their writing. How do you grade that? Well, you have a rubric. That's why. So I do improving. If they're not improving, then yes, someone might be really good at their writing, but why do they deserve the same grade as someone who? So I mean, I think that's all. With grading, it's always, and so someone might say, well, that person deserves an A, and then I try to get the parents, they evaluate themselves. And so one of the things in the rubrics is also growth factor. Do they believe they're growing? What kind of a grade would they give themselves for that? Did they challenge themselves? Did they take risks? And that will get the parents, when they give themselves a grade, to kind of see why you gave that grade. Citing resources, that's very important. Cite this for me extension. Um, we've already looked at that. There's also other things. Why do I have all that? Owl of English Purdue is very good with that as well. They give you the APA format. And EasyBib. EasyBib you use with your mobile device. You scan the barcode of a book, and it gives you the APA MLA. So this is a fun way to get your students excited about going to the library. They can scan the books. And then finally, let's go over the things that we were talking about. So integrate multimedia to inspire writing with digital, teach digital research, give them an audience, make sure they cite and attribute accurately, change it up, get them to do things with comics, writing prompts, video prompts, write dialogues, and write text messages to each other, write the comparative essay, write the problem solution essay, teach the process through graphic organizers, um, visual literacy, and so that way they know when they're creating a video or they're creating a website, which is all part of digital writing or blog, they know how to leave white space, how to put up a picture. And Lisa Johnson, and I recently added that resource too, did on how to create slide presentations, how to evaluate resources, and then create a safe environment. Make sure that they know how to how to argue respectfully towards each other, where they learn. Don't attack the person with a different idea. Go to the idea, think about the idea, and then say why you disagree. Why does it inflame you so much, and why do you disagree? And tell us that with your words and make it powerful. Take all that anger and angst you have for that, but put in your words and make that more powerful with the feeling, instead of yelling at someone or attacking another student. So you can find all this in this Purl Tree. You can find all that information.